So, most of you are old faces. As I mentioned before, it's not that you're old, but I know you from before, seen you before, and I will probably be going off, not off focus, but letting other people in. Uh, so, welcome to all of you, the people I know, the people I love, and the people I don't know yet. So, this is going to be an interesting journey uh, into the elements. And just to give you a little bit about the logistics, what I do before I do any class, any teaching, always read a card. Which today I'm going to read a card from my microscopic wisdom cards, and then we're going to have a slideshow about the elements. I hope to take you into their wisdom, and I'll do a guided visualization, and we'll have time for questions at the end. Since I'm a one-person show here, it's hard to go to chat or ask. If you ask me questions in the middle of it, I'm easily distracted, so I could go off, off the reservation, if you will, to something else. So I like to wait till uh, at the end of the presentation. And if you have burning questions, put it in the chat, and I'll get to it either later or during our session or after. And I'm recording this, so you all can get the recording as well. So welcome to you all. And I'm already forgetting. So today's card is strength. Oh, you're laughing.
Yeah, I got it too.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Yeah, I asked the card for guidance for what I need and what the group needs. And I'll read what the book says. Um, it's an alchemy card. So, for those of you who don't have the cards, alchemy cards are those that have the blending of two or more mineral salts through the microscope. So, this is the alchemy of earth and fire. Um, and it kindles your strong creative spirit. So this is for all of us. Remain strong in your resolve to trust yourself, to enjoy life and creativity without censoring. A way of life is coming to an end as you accept your strength and this new perspective. Adapt to the demands of this creative time. Integrity and courage anchor your creative self. So allow yourself to really have what Earth is about, as we'll get into during the presentation. Earth is about grounding, being in the here and the now. Fire is about our spirit. Fire is about creativity. So can we ground what our spirit is asking for? Is, to me, the gift of this card. And I will read one thing. I will recommend an amazing gift of a book, David Suzuki's The Sacred Balance. David is an environmentalist, a scientist who's done a lot of work with the indigenous people, mostly in Canada, and he brings in his writings of science and spirit. And so I just wanted to remind myself where I am, or where we all are. So when we talk about the elements, and if you could all mute yourself, that would be great. So when we talk about the elements, we're really, the first introduction for most of us, if we read their stories, were in our creation myths. What are we made of? Where do we come from? And so here David is saying, our stories tell us where we come from. Please, Bonnie, mute yourself. Thank you. Tell us where we come from. In the beginning, these stories say, there was water, there was sky and fire, there was earth, and there was life. One way or another, we were made from the sacred elements. Our stories tell us this, so does our science. So our myths before science were talking about the four elements or the three elements. And it was always starting with the wonders of creation, the wonders of life. And most of them started with in the beginning. And recently I've been reading other books that in the original Aramaic, which is language before Hebrew, before Greek, before Latin, in the original Aramaic, it didn't start with "in the beginning," this creation myth. It started with wisdom, God created the heavens and earth. So with wisdom we are created. And one of my stories with the minerals that you'll see, our molecules have wisdom. We have wisdom. So we're not separate from any of these stories. We are the greatest myth there is. And not a myth steak, but a myth. So I'm going to go into the PowerPoint and make sure that you can see it. So can you see this? Yeah, okay, good. Now I know I have some videos in this, but when I ran through this another time, right before the class, the videos weren't working, so if I get a little frustrated, you'll know why. So I call this free the elements. How do we free them in ourselves, beside this being a free class? How do we free them? How do we know them? So this is in the package of my cards, and it's a very famous quote by the famous, if you will, astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he reminds us the atoms of our bodies are traceable to stars that manufactured them in their cores and exploded them across our galaxy billions of years ago. We are chemically related to all the molecules on Earth and all atoms in the universe. We are literally stardust. Now, years ago when I first read the quote that we come from the stars, I thought it was all a metaphor. But in fact, now we have scientific proof that our atoms came from the stars. So I think it's appropriate to tune into our own stardust and our own elemental makeups to see what can we learn from it. And so this is a quote from Rumi hundreds of years ago. And Rumi said, "We are stars wrapped in skin." How did he know this? The light you're seeking has always been within. So it's the wisdom keepers of our world tuned into the wisdom long before science could prove it. But this is, to me, an appropriate quote to remember. We're stars wrapped in skin, and the light has always been with us. And so here we've got, some of the pictures I'm using come from the new Webb telescope. So this is part of our stardust, if you will. So how do we get to know ourselves? How do we get to know our elemental self? I'm really trying to keep it simple. The four elements, so air, water, earth, and fire. And I feel like I'm being initiated into the elements in a new way because I've been teaching about the elements for at least a decade. And the other day when I was writing, how do I abbreviate this, I saw that it was, instead of few, it was awe plus fun. So it's like, okay, the elements are awesome and our creation is awesome, and they're not outside of us. They're not external. They're part of us, and they're essential. They're essential to our life. Try holding your breath for a few minutes and you'll see how important that breath is. We can only live a couple of minutes without air. So let's see if it's going to work. Okay, so the air element. What's interesting about the air element, we can't see it. It's invisible. The only time we can see it is its effect on other things. And the metaphysical expression of air, it's our mind, it's thoughts. And if we think about, we can't see our thoughts, but we can feel the effect of our thoughts on the rest of us. So here again, none of these elements live by themselves. A couple weeks ago, I was sitting in my yard watching the clouds move across the sky, and I wondered, what are clouds made of? Clouds are air and water. So there's all these divine partnerships, and again, in motion, always in movement. And then we get into the water element, another sacred gift of us from creation, always in movement. we see the surface, we don't know what's underneath. Then we get to the fire element. Again, always in motion and influenced by the air element. So the air is influencing the water by, we see the waves. We can't get fire without the partnership of the air element. So you begin to get a sense of everything's connected. Then we move to the earth element. Wow, this one's still. How come? So the earth element is the only one that's solid and physical and not moving around. It grounds us. And so what I'm inviting you to do is use the metaphor of nature to help you learn and understand a little bit more about the elements. That's certainly what I've been doing over the years. So earth is stable. We can move through it, we can see it, but the trees, the plants are rooted into the soil, holding the soil and everything in the soil together. So we can recognize that this is a stable environment, and one of the ways to tune into the earth element is, how do we ground ourselves? How do we feel our feet on the earth? Do we imagine having roots from our feet, from our spine, holding us onto the earth? So to really be able to tune into the qualities of these elements as we get deeper into the metaphysics, if you will. So again, the earth element, solid, stable. I didn't know ding dong about the elements decades ago. In fact, I was thinking about it. It's like, I didn't even know about the full moon decades ago. I was a city girl. I didn't pay attention to the moon. It was only when a boyfriend was walking me down the street pointing to me, oh, there's a full moon coming up. It's like, whoa, okay. I never knew that. And I never knew about the elements. I had no interest in astrology until new friends of mine had asked me if I would photograph, I know some of you know this story, if I would photograph minerals related to astrology through the microscope. And I was using the microscope to develop diagnostic tools for human leukemias, and had discovered accidentally, if there are any accidents, that you could actually find art through the microscope if you photographed molecules, or if you photographed wine or mind-altering substances that created beautiful patterns. So and I was doing slideshows for kids with cancer at that time, so I was using these images just to occupy their time, calm them in the waiting room before they got their chemo. And so when these friends asked me to photograph the minerals, I was like, no way. It's astrology, that's woo-woo, that's not my, I'm a serious scientist at the University of California, don't ask me to do things like that. But they were really persistent. So I finally agreed to photograph the 12 mineral salts, because I knew there are the minerals in the body. I knew I could show the kids some of the beauty of what's in their body. And so when I photographed the 12 salts related to the signs of the zodiac, I saw that there were 4 shapes. I'm not going to tell you what they are yet. I saw that there were 4 shapes, and questioned, since I was the scientist who categorized things, is there any kind of 4 in astrology? Oh yeah, there's the 4 elements. And so what I discovered 40 years ago, that the minerals of the different signs of the zodiac matched the element of that sign. And I'll tell you that in a moment, but I'm not going to tell you that yet, because I want you to see, this is a little bit of research. I want you to see, is there a shape? So these were the elemental shapes that appeared through the microscope. Is there a shape that you are the most attracted to? Just to kind of write it down. Is one of these shapes you like the best? Or is there a shape you don't like? Just to do a little research here, a little human research. What shape attracts you? The squiggly line, the round circle, the square, the hexagon? Just let your intuition answer that question. And then what I discovered was all the minerals related to the air signs were square or rectangular. All the minerals related to the earth signs were round. All the minerals related to water signs were wavy. And all the minerals related to fire signs were hexagons, which is a wonderful story. Not going to cover today, but later. So that there was this wisdom. So here we've got all the earth signs, all the air signs, all the water signs, all the fire signs, and I'll just run through these. So if some of you might recognize your own sun sign, Capricorn. Oh, let me go back. Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo. This is where we are right now, where the sun is right now. Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, Pisces, Cancer. I don't know. I don't know if you can see the pointer. It isn't always. It doesn't necessarily come out in the recording. So here's Scorpio. Scorpio, by the way, was the hardest to photograph. I could only get 2 pictures. Here we get into Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. So it was mind-blowing 40 years ago, and I wouldn't talk about it because what had I discovered? This is a little uncomfortable for a scientist to say, I've uncovered some kind of meaning in the molecules. Get out of that. And I was at the time apprenticing to a shaman, and when I told him this story, he said, you have to talk about this. This is unusual. And the next day I had pneumonia, unable to speak, so my body was not quite ready to share what I had discovered. So let's see what we can learn from this. So I'll talk about a couple of qualities of each of the element, and again, I'm inviting you to tune in for yourself what you could understand about the air element. The air element, in terms of nature, it's wind, it's the breeze, it's our breath in terms of our body. Metaphysically, it's our mind, it's our thoughts, it's the intellect. So if you say someone's an airhead, they're probably they're all thinking lots of things. And if we think, the more I get into this, the more I realize that, well, air is always moving. And so are our thoughts, and our mind is always in motion. How do we anchor that down, or how do we shift it? Well, meditation teaches us that breath can bring the mind into a stillness if we practice enough. And so water relates to our oceans, the rivers, the rain, blood, sweat, and tears, and our emotions. Our emotions are carried in the waters of the body. And also, this is also true, it's in motion. So how do we still this, or let go, or cleanse it out? Another way to start working with these elements. And then we get into the earth. The earth element is the only solid physical material element. It doesn't move that we can see. So it relates to the material universe, the body. So we see mind, body, feelings, and then we get into fire. The fire element is related to energy, it's related to spirit, it's related to vitality. When I delve deeper into this, many of the molecules that are essential for life, so it's also life, are 6-sided molecules. The whole, interesting as above, so below story. So here we're looking at the stars. We know more about the stars and space outside than our inner space. So how do we tune in to inner space? So here's the wheel. A dear friend made this wheel for me for my 80th birthday a couple years ago. The matching of the minerals to the elements. So again, here we got, so I'm showing this for a couple of ideas, a couple of reasons, to really see that you've got, if you know your sun sign or anything about your astrology, we'll go through the wheel, and this will help you tune into what was that favorite shape. But it also shows us the wheel of time. How do we go through the year? We change. This is Capricorn. This is Virgo. Where the sun is right now is in this earth sign, which is earth of air, if you will, and here we go into Taurus. But so we're going from Virgo, we're going to go into Libra, air sign, we'll go into Scorpio, water, then go into fire, Sagittarius. So it's quite amazing how people came up with these ideas. I did not come up with the ideas of these minerals related to a certain sun sign or a certain sign of the zodiac. That was about 150 years ago. Uh, Again, long story. I wanted to keep it focused and useful as best as possible. So once I began owning that there was power in these minerals and these images, I began using them to do elemental guidance readings. And I know some of you here have had elemental guidance readings with me, looking at your astrology from an elemental perspective. So these are the air images. But 2 years ago, in using those images, I discovered that they could actually be an oracle deck. I had, snapshots of all the images, and every day I would pull a tarot card, just what's my energy for today? What do I need for today? And I'll go back here, using the bare images on snapshots. Actually, it's interesting that this is three airs. I asked what I needed, and I had never intended to make a card deck. What I needed, I pulled 3 air cards, and this was at the very beginning of the COVID epidemic. And what I knew about air is about communication, air is about social relationships. So air isn't only about ideas or thinking, we need to share them, we need to communicate them. Air is about speech and hearing. And I'm in total isolation. I wasn't even going out to get groceries. I was having my groceries delivered. So when I pulled the 3 air cards out of, at the time, air pictures, I had 60 pictures. It said that these images had more information than I had given them credit for. And so over the last 2 years, I have created these cards. The images spoke to me. They told me their names, they told me their numbers, etc., and told me what they wanted in the guidebook. And I'm going to celebrate my dear friend Cindy Jacobs here, who without her help, these would never have been able to, I'd still be trying to figure out how to do the technology. She created the cards so that we can see them as cards. So without her help, this would have still been in the dreams mode. So I created these cards, and it's like, well, okay, now what do you do with them? And the reality, I'm going to show you the cards for a couple of reasons. The reality is, they were finally all produced. I got them in July, so haven't had them for very long. I had a Kickstarter campaign that funded the production of these cards. I had never used them with anybody else, so it was just the creative spark in me, and the spark from God, or whatever you call source, said you needed to do something with these. You need to share them. So these are the air signs. This is Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra. And the words came to me. The shapes, there's the symbols on the bottom of the card. I just began to see these in themselves tell a story with their words, something I'd not really thought of. And this is a reminder, reminder for me, and hopefully for you. Every breath is a sacrament, an affirmation of our connection with all living things, a renewal of our link with our ancestors. Our next breath could contains atoms from millions of years ago, the Gandhi, Buddha, Jesus, or even before that breathed. And it also reminds us of our sacred relationship with nature. The trees are using our out-breath. The trees use our exhale, our waste product, and convert it into food, if you will, carbohydrates, as well as oxygen. So our relationship with our nature is very sacred and essential. If we cut down all the trees, there's not going to be a whole lot of good air for us to breathe. So one theme is we're all connected. Nature, ourselves, our inner nature, time and space. And to remind us when we see the moving clouds, one of the games I used to play with my kids, we'd lie on the ground on a mountaintop, and what shape, what do we see in the clouds? And what we see in terms of the movement of the clouds and changing shape is we also see the gift of water. The gift of before we really recognized water, humans couldn't see themselves. It's only with the still water were they able to reflect that, oh, this is what I look like. And if we use water as a metaphor, it's got a surface and deep, deep depths, if you will, the hidden secrets of what we don't think we know, again, for ourselves, as well as nature. What's hidden within me? So here we've got the waves, and what's profound about water, water can change its physical shape, its physical matter. None of the elements can do that. Water can be flowing water. Water can be, if it's heated up, it can be steam. Excuse me. It can be frozen. We've got snow and snowflakes. We've got the power of the movement of water, big waves or shallow movements. And if we look at the three cards, there are actually 6 cards for each element, but didn't want to complicate the story here. So the 3 water signs, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. And like I say, I had no knowledge of astrology when I did the photography. And if I look at, when I look at the Cancer is ruled by the moon. It looks like a starry night. How did this happen? Scorpio is considered to be very secretive, likes to hide things, not be out up front with people or themselves. And the images, what's hidden and behind. So again, seeing that the molecules themselves are telling a story. And then we get to the Earth, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Again, this was the first mineral I photographed. And when I looked at it, it looks like bone. And the primary mineral salt in bone is calcium phosphate, which is what this mineral is. So we can get into the shape of the element, which one you like the best. Is it related to your sun sign or anything you know about astrology, or is it your missing element? Then we get into fire. Fire also moves around, and we've got Aries, which looks like a wand. Anybody into a tarot knows that the wands are part of the fire element. This is Leo, and this is Sagittarius. Hexagons. These two are really easier to see. This one, I'm not sure. It's just the head of the wand. But just to look at the interesting shapes that these elements took. So I'm inviting you to tune into the elements in nature, to really use nature to help you experience your own elemental makeup. As I mentioned before, air is wind, moves, it's invisible, like our thoughts. Water is also moves. It's in constant motion, and it has hidden depth. So if you have any water in your chart, this says something about your nature too. I use the outer nature to help us understand our inner nature. Earth is solid, it's physical. It needs to be in the here and now. It's involved in the material realm. Fire has energy, warmth. It creates and destroys. Just think of what fire has done out here on the West Coast over the past couple of years. But we also need the fire. So again, here's that wonderful cosmic map of the elements. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I never use the cards with anybody else, especially because they just came out in July. And I have done for myself and other people elemental guidance. And it was only, I guess, this is so new, it's only a few weeks ago that I decided to do astrotrilogy for myself. and I write about it in the guidebook. And what an astrotrilogy is, the big three of astrology: the rising sign, the sun sign, and the moon sign. And when I looked at this, I'll go back a moment or two. When I did my elemental astrology, what was clear to me, I had no fire. So I was looking at my elemental self as being broken. There was something wrong with me. I was missing something. And I've held that as long as I understood this astrology. And then when I did these cards a few weeks ago, I looked at what I know about these elements. So I've got rising sign in Scorpio, water; moon sign in Cancer, water; sun sign in air sign at Libra. And when I was looking at this, and I've spent a lot of time with it, when I was looking at this, I realized, whoa, everything's in motion. There's no solidity here. And that's when I started asking, how do we activate this cosmic code? And it's not just activate, it's here. We are all born with the cosmic code the moment we come into Earth, the moment we're born. And it wasn't, not how do I activate it? How do I manifest it? How do I make it stronger? So the strength card was interesting to get to. How do I make it stronger? It's like, well, I wouldn't. When I one of the things I did with this, I started painting. It's like I painted in fire. It's like, fire isn't going to make this stronger. Fire is just going to blow things away. But what is going to make us stronger, and paying attention to the intuition, was the earth element. These are always in motion. What would solidify me, bring more earth into my life, ground myself, make a structure? It's like, what are all the teachings of the earth element? And it's been rewarding. It's only a couple weeks. It's rewarding to see that bringing in the earth element makes me feel more whole. Not that I've got something that's broken or needs fixing, which is what air was all about. So I've started doing cosmic code readings for people, and see what kind of insights do they get, because it's interesting. And then you can go from just the nature of the element into what's the story, what am I being initiated into. Those of you who know me know I just like to flow through life. I just don't create structure or form or plan. And where's that gotten to me? So it's like really to pay attention to what you need to do to manifest what your greater self for now. And where we are today, interesting, where we are today, the sun is in Virgo, the earth element. The sun is going to be in Virgo until the 22nd of September, so the next couple of weeks. So for all of us, whether we've got Virgo in our chart or not, to look at, this is a time, what do we know about September here up in the Northern Hemisphere? It's harvest time. We're bringing forth the creations of the summer and the spring. And it's a time to be able to manifest what we have created from spring, summer to now. And to be able to think about it in terms of being wise about it, being able to discern what's wasteful, what do I need to do, and to look at. So one of the ways you can really pay attention to the elements, even without knowing your astrology, is where's the sun sign right now? Right now we're in Virgo. Earth, what do I need to do? Think clearly in what I want to create. The moon, so the sun signs last for about 30 days. The moon signs last for a couple of days, about 2.5 days. So the moon is in Scorpio right now, and that Scorpio, this is the other image for Scorpio. We could be prickly with ourselves. We might be quick to anger with people and be short-tempered. So to really be able to watch our behaviors. And when I first started paying attention to the moon signs, I saw there were certain moon signs. One, because I'm all this water air person, have a hard time making decisions. So I would see that if I used the moon sign, it helped me understand a little bit about what's the best use of the next couple of days, or to see that there were times when the moon was in Capricorn, I was the grouchiest. So it just kind of gave me some hints about the cosmic influence and how to play with it or how to dance with it. And this one I so the deck has the zodiac, signs of the zodiac, the minerals. It also has alchemy, and alchemy is where I decided to mix minerals from two different signs. So this represents a Virgo and Libra. So this is Libra. This basically represents the cusp where we're going to go after Virgo. We're going into Libra for the next month. And so when I mix these two together, earth and air, I got transformation in the alchemy card, which felt so perfect. You know, where I used to live on the coast, it was the time when you saw all the butterflies, and this represents to me coming out of our cocoon, a rebirth, if you will. So when we move from being solid in Virgo and planting our seeds with dedication, persistence, and a plan of discernment, of doing it wisely, when we move into the lighter Libra time, it's really a time of change. And in the Chinese system, we're in Doyo, which is a time of little more difficulty making change when we move in from these two elemental changes. So let me see where I am in time. I never timed these. Oh, I'm doing okay. So just a reminder, the elemental world is all around and within us. It's all energy. It's all energy. And you're invited to connect with this energy and to connect with what's sacred within you, that you notice that these elements come from the divine, whatever you consider the divine source. And a reminder from Khalil Gibran, forget not that the earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play with your hair. So it's not one direction, it's both directions. We play with the elements. We go out to the sea, feel our feet warm, wet, and we get to really take ourselves out into the elemental world and dance with it. And just in case you want to know, well, what can I do next to learn more? I do now cosmic code readings for people, and because it's new, it's not as expensive as elemental guidance readings. And I'm also starting a new program next week where we get into the elements in a new way along with the cards. And if you're interested in this, you can tap on the links or email me just to find out more. And before, I'm going to skip that slide. So here we've got this guy dancing again. This is us, our stuff of us out into the elements. And what I want to do before questions is do a guided visualization. Are there burning questions? I know I should are there burning questions? Raise your hand if there's a burning question. Cindy.
I don't have a burning question, but forgive me. So if all of a sudden I disappear, it's because I do still get my groceries delivered and they might end up on my doorstep. So, and it's very hot here. So if I go poof, I just want to let you know that's what happened.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody, excuse me, anybody else have a question? No. Okay, so we'll do a guided visualization. And I'm going to take a curricula so I won't be coughing throughout this. So everybody's muted. And with the guided visualization, I like to ask that we bring in our higher self, that we bring in our higher wisdom, whatever we name it, wherever it comes from, and that whatever we experience does no harm. And I also, at the end of a guided visualization, invite you to draw or write what you reminders of that experience. Okay, so like before, let's close our eyes. Feel ourselves being held to the earth by gravity. Feel our deep breath. Feel the gift of our breath. Letting go of any tension with each breath, bringing in relaxation, peace, and love. And we have an imaginary circle of white light, a belt of white light connecting of all of us in this circle. So even though we may be across the world, like in Australia, or in Belgium, or in New York, we're all here together in a sacred circle, seeking wisdom, discovering our own wisdom. So with each breath, you're feeling more and more relaxed and present. And I invite you to imagine being on a top of a hill or a mountain somewhere in nature, obviously somewhere in nature. So on this top of this mountain, look out. How far can you see? What do you see? You feel the warm sun on your skin. You feel the gentle breeze on your skin. You feel part of this wondrous universe. You can actually smell rain. It's not raining yet, but you can smell it in the air. Should you find a place that you can be safe from the rain if it does come down? So you look behind yourself and you see there appears to be a forest behind you, some trees behind you. Maybe there's shelter in there before it starts raining. You begin to feel raindrops on your skin. So smelling rain was not your imagination. It's actually starting to rain a little bit, lightly. And as you walk through the trees, you see in the opening what looks like a glass house or a crystal house, glass building. And there's a person, or is it an angel, at the doorway to the building beckoning you, come in, this is a safe place, shelter yourself out of the rain. So you go inside this exquisite building and you see in the center of this building a fireplace, warm, crackling fire, and there's sofas around the fire, and you're invited to take a seat, to sit down, and feel the comfort of being here inside as you listen to the rain pelting on this crystal building. Hear the sound. It's comforting to be inside. And the being that welcomed you brings you a warm blanket to cover yourself so you don't catch a chill. So it feels very safe, and how lucky. What a blessing it was to see this structure as it started to pour. And this being, this angel, you may call it what you see, brings you a chalice with some warm beverage in the chalice. You can smell it. You hold it in your hands. You can feel the warmth. You notice on the outside of the chalice there's decorations or symbols. Just look at it and notice what you see on the outside of the chalice. And slowly bring this to your lips, smelling this fragrant beverage, sipping it. Again, it feels so comforting to bring this in, sipping this liquid, this warm liquid. And as you enjoy this warm liquid, you realize you've finished it all. And at the bottom of the chalice is more symbols. What do you see? And then you put the chalice down. There's a little table in front of you. And the being that welcomed you into this building asks you, what do you need now? What is most important to you right now? And see what answer comes to you from your inner wisdom. What do you need now? What do you need to own for yourself? Not necessarily own in stuff, but own in wisdom. What do you need to know? Now the rain has stopped. And you could see the sun beginning to come out. And since this is indeed a crystal building, the space is filled with rainbows all around. Look all around and you see these sparkling rainbows surrounding you, covering the angel being that's with you. What a beautiful, beautiful place to be in. Safe, nurturing space. And this being puts the chalice again in your hands and says, take this with you. This will help guide you on your journey. Take this with you. Let it be a wisdom shower, a wisdom keeper for you. So you get up from the sofa, you thank this being, this wise one, this generous one. You look all around where you've been and go to the doorway where you came in and leave this space for now. And now you're back in the forest. The trees are dripping with raindrops. It's fragrant. You can really smell what the forest is made of, what the trees are, because of the being wet with rain. And take a few more steps and go back to the edge of the mountain where you were, feeling safe, feeling the gentle breeze on your skin, feeling the warm sun on your skin. And you know that there's something new, a new direction for you, new wisdom for you as you look out from this mountaintop. And to make this more real for you, put one hand over your heart and one hand on your belly to help anchor this experience that it is real. And you will allow the wisdom to continue to teach you. You've got the chalice to look at. You've got your imagination, your intuition, and you've got this vision from the top of the mountain. You're blessed with the sacred, with divine energy. You can always come back here. And with gratitude, you thank yourself, you thank your elements, the elements, your breath, your body, your mind, and your feelings for getting you here to this blessed place. And when you feel ready, open your eyes, and you might want to take a moment to write down, draw anything that you experience that you want to remember. It's like a dream. If we don't make it tangible in some form, we forget the guidance. So I'll give you a minute or two to do that. So now you can come back to this. I'm recording it so you can go back and listen to it and take as much time as you need after. I know I'm cutting this a little short because I wanted to leave time for you to tell me what your experience was, or if you have questions or comments, feel free to wave your hand and I'll call on you. Bonnie?
So, first of all, thank you to the wisdom that came forth. Thank you, Sondra, for your guidance and your creativity. And I feel your fire. So, yay. I just had a difficult Zoom call with my sisters, and the cards I pulled today were connection, which is very important to me. That's why I initiate these Zoom calls, and balance, where things are not in balance, that I am able to stay in balance, and strength. I drew 3 cards, and strength, to be able to stay in the balance I need to be when there are areas of not support. So the cards were a gift to me. You are a gift to me. So thank you.
Well, you're a gift to me too. Of all of you, I know Bonnie the longest, probably 40 years.
Something like that.
Like that. Yeah. So we go back a long time. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for sharing the vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anybody else? Cindy?
Well, I'll share the gift that I was given to keep with me and take with me surprised me a little bit because it's like the Olympic torch, and it was like, okay, You know, I feel like sometimes my life requires that kind of endurance, but the message prior to that was trust and hope. And so it's like I can keep the fire burning. I can keep my own light lit. I just have to trust, and I have to have hope that there's a reason to do so. So that was interesting, but yeah. So I'll have that image of.
Yeah, and I see the Olympic torch in your paintings or drawings or your notes. I can expect to see. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's here.
Did anybody notice the shape that you chose? Was it related to your sun sign, if you know it? Related to your elemental? Kim? Oh, Chris, sorry.
So I chose the squiggly sign and I'm an Aquarius. So I know that's before the Pisces, but I love the water. I even went swimming today. It was pouring rain here today and it was okay. But I just thought it was neat. All the the pictures you showed, and incredible cards.
It's incredible to me too. I mean, it was all, like I say, accident, but there are none. There are none. Yeah. So thanks for being here. Yeah. And you got rain. Please send it out here.
Yeah.
We need it. Yeah. 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 Anybody else notice what shape they picked, if it's related at all to their birthday or their passions? Judy, unmute.
Yeah. Well, I go right to the circle, but it doesn't really. My sun sign is Scorpio, and it doesn't relate to that. But I'm wondering if maybe it goes to what I'm really needing right now or something. What is the circle? I forgot.
Circle is Earth. Yeah,
Okay.
it could. Yeah, it could very. I mean, that's what
Practical concerns. Yeah.
Yeah, practical. Yeah, I mean, what I've noticed when I've done this in groups where I know everybody's birthday, that usually what people choose is what their predominant element, or what they're missing, or what they need. So,
Yeah.
and like I say, I see it much more dramatically when I've done it with the cards. Like, oh yeah, I needed fire, but no, I really need earth. You probably really need to earth, be grounded. And you're an astrologer, so to really recognize where we are in Virgo, to use this energy as, the cosmos, whether we think of it affects us or not, it really, we can use it as, guideposts, if you will. Just, okay, we're the earth element. I'm going to do earthly things. I'm going to be more focused. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And right now I have a lot of practical concerns that I'm dealing with or trying to deal with. So that would make sense. Definitely.
Thank you. Anybody else before we say goodbye? Magda.
Sorry, I have to liaise with the handyman real leak, but what was the question?
Do you have any questions from the presentation, or are you aware of your the shape that you chose? Of course, you probably know yours.
Yeah.
The shape that you chose.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I would just like to thank you very much for yet again another really beautiful presentation, and I love your vision. And maybe when we did have the one-on-one thing, you pointed out I was totally devoid of earth, and I have since moved, as I wrote to you, to a place where I'm much more earthed and amongst nature, and I'm hoping to redress the balance that way. So thank you for pointing me in the direction.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking it. I mean, she sent me pictures where she's moved. So beautiful.
Mm.
Down under. Down
Yeah,
under.
down under, all the way from Australia, where we're just about to go into spring.
So different.
Yeah.
So different. Yeah.
All the blossoms are happening.
Yeah. All ours are gone, kind of.
Mm.
Yeah.
But you call fall, but we call it autumn, is one of my favorite seasons here. I love all the colors that happen. Do you have all those beautiful colors up there?
Sort of. Sort of. Yeah.
Mm.
And in spots. It's not like on the East Coast, but on
Oh.
spots. But this is tomato season, so I'm very happy.
All right. I enjoy, and thank you very much again.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else before we say goodbye? Okay. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. And I want to read one more thing from, I guess I like Rumi. There is a life force within your soul. Seek that life. There is a gem in the mountain of your body. Seek that mine. O traveler, if you are in search of that, don't look outside. Look inside yourself and seek that. So seek who you are, the gifts of who you are. We're really lucky beings. And thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful.